That'll take a while to load. 100%. So the first thing is that the road to publishing, it is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes a long time. Like you need to put a lot of time into getting down that journey and beginning. When we get to the next slide. Oh, okay, we're dark now. And my publishing journey started in 2013. When did yours start? 2015, shortly after. So my third book just came out, like it arrived at my house on Monday. So I did a trilogy, which was the craziest thing that I've ever done, and that took time. So everything takes longer. Oh my God. So everything that can go wrong will go wrong. There's Murphy's Law right here for it. And then what was the next one? Yeah, let me put it up. The heck with this. Sorry, we have really good slides too. Our last panel was really good. Same. Okay, so this is your. Oh God, it went away. Come back. Come back. Okay, there we go. So our slide here says determine. It's never coming up there, we're sorry. It's right here. It's got a cool zebra thing on it, and it says your beginner checklist to make a good product. You need to determine your vision, don't rush or cut corners, have an outside editor or proofreader, you need to hire a cover artist, and you need to determine your distribution channels. And we'll talk some of this in pieces as we go along our slides that you can't see. Okay, so one of the first things that you need to do is consider building your brand and your author platform. And you can do this way before you're published. So I started my author platform a full year before my book was published. So that for me, that meant building a website. It meant starting on some social media channels that maybe I already was using, but I turned them into my author platform channels. You need to start thinking about a mailing list if you haven't, and maybe join a group like Goodreads as a reader. So you want to start participating in these communities that you're going to later be using as an author, but you can start participating in them early on. And maybe you want to blog, and we'll talk a little bit about whether or not you want to blog in another slide that you can't see. So I'm going to pass this over to you about finding your audience. Oh, okay. We don't know if we'll actually go to the second slide, so we can try. You want to try to click the button? Finding your audience. I would start as soon as you can to start collecting data. I just sent a tweet to Tabitha. I don't tweet that often, so if you go on my Twitter channels, it's at your favorite mermaid. And you can, by all means, my name is Heather Rigney, like it says on the slide. You can go to heatherrigney.com to find out my social media channels. I just sent her a tweet yesterday regarding finding your audience and collecting data. It's super, super important. You can use the statistical tools on your social media platforms to target people at events. So say, for example, I know, it's happening.
It's out here, I got it.
Okay, so collecting data, use your statistical tools, and targeting people at events. So I know, for example, that my target audience is women between the ages of 24 and 53 are my target audience. Those are the people that interact with me the most on social media. So when I am at different events, I know those are the people that I'm going to go for. It's not going to be, like, it's not that I don't talk to other people, it's just that I know that those are the people that are looking to read my books, that they interact with me, those are my strongest fans. So finding that information out and starting to develop that information is super powerful in that reason, just for things like this. So any event that you go to, you know, like, you should know who you're writing for. If you don't, like, you're just flapping around. And that whole thing of, like, excuse my French, it's just bullshit if you think that everybody reads your book. Not everybody reads your book. There are specific people, yeah, your grandmother will read it, yes, your dad will read it, but like they love you, and your mom, and like, you know, the offhanded person that's kind of really cool that's like over 60 is going to read your book, but if you know, like, your books are written for teens, you should be targeting teens. Okay, so.
Your website.
Establishing a brand is super important. Don't even touch those channels. If we had a better internet connection, I would take you to Tabitha's site. So both Tabitha and I have gone through a journey of developing our website. So when I'm an artist, and I'm an art teacher, and I'm a writer. My first blog, and I thought I wanted to do a lifestyle blog. So when I started, and Tabitha was the same. Like we both thought, well, we're both mothers, professionals, and we're teachers, and we have a lot to share. That's great, but it really wasn't selling books about mermaids, and it probably wasn't selling books about space. And then, so if you saw my first blog, it was like this cutesy thing with these orange mermaids and stuff like that on it. It had nothing to do with the dark tones of my book. Tabitha's blog had like, she writes about space. At first she had like beach scenes, because she likes the beach. So things like that, that's great, but that's not targeting. You need to develop your brand, and you should, whatever you're gonna do. Tabitha's got a fantastic headshot. Mine's good, but hers is lovely. And it is on all of her social media channels. That is her brand. So your headshot is important. If you can take it yourself, great. If not, have a professional do it. Tabitha had a professional. I'm also a photographer, so that I do it myself. I do a lot myself. I wear a lot of hats. But that should be on all your profiles. Every profile should be the same. It shouldn't be like you mountain biking, you snowboarding, you eating ice cream with your kids. It should be consistent all the way across the brand. You need to have buying links everywhere on your website, because if you're sending people to your website, don't they get there and you get this great blog post that you wrote about, I don't know, like world building, but that's wonderful, but they're there to buy your book. You want people to buy your book. Put the buying links everywhere, and you should have on your menu a thing that says books. I mean, that's why they're there. They're not there to read about your cat. They're there to read about, you want them to direct them to buy. Events, yeah. So, and other things that you have up, events that you're doing, such as this, a host for your blog, and we're going to go more over like blogging in a little bit. That'll come up next.
So it's okay for you to evolve a bit, though. I mean, I started my website, right, and I didn't want to be pigeonholed into writing science fiction, speculative fiction at the time. I thought, well, maybe someday I want to write something else, so I want to brand myself, which was a good idea in the beginning, right? So I started writing the blogs, like you were talking about mothering and parent teaching and things like that, because I did want readers, and I wanted readers that would engage with me before I had a book out. So I wrote what I knew, and I wrote well, and I put out a lot of content. And then gradually, I produced the book, and I started to figure out who my audience was, and where do they hang out, Comic-Cons, and science fiction people, and that kind of thing. And I gradually started to shift my look of my brand into much more what I actually write now. So if you were to go to my website, which we don't want to do because we don't mess this thing up, you now will see space scenes and cool, it just looks a little more sci-fi instead of literary fiction. I don't write literary fiction, I'm not a literary fiction writer. I don't do women's fiction, so you want to come and see what you're getting. But before I started, I didn't really know. So I think it's okay to evolve, and you're going to evolve, and that's all right. You can do that. I think it's more important to start establishing your presence there, and then decide to gradually shift it into something more concrete for yourself, when you know what you're doing. So I started, like I said, a year early. That was too early for me to really understand who was I going to be as a writer 4 years, 5 years down the road. But now it's shifting and it's changing, and I'm more solidifying my brand. So if that makes sense, it's, you're not stuck, but at the same time, you do want to build and promote your brand. Consistency is kind of important.
We got that, right?
If you blog, you need a space on the
Social media channels are super important. The purpose is to build community, not sales. You don't want to hard sell people on your social media channels. This is super important. I mean, this is kind of a moment for me, because I remember hearing this like a long time ago. It's like, this is so important. You want to build a community on social media channels. You want to connect with people. Don't be fake. Nobody likes fake people. Don't be going around, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Hey, comment, buy my book. Oh, look, I like your thing. Nice post, buy my book. People do this to me all the time, and I ignore them. Or I write, why don't you download my book? So you gotta do what's natural for you. For me, I'm on, well, I'll get to that. So like the hashtags are super important. So hashtags. The people that are on social media channels find you through hashtags. It is the best thing that you can do. I mean, for me, my hashtags are pretty simple. It is mermaid, hashtag mermaid book, hashtag indie author, hashtag Rhode Island authors. Like, there are a whole bunch. If you want like a list of hashtags that you can use, I will customize for you. Send me an email. I will be happy to. I put them on Instagram. You can put as many as you want. They do kind of like get a little touchy, and you have to kind of like feed them in slowly. And Twitter just upped their characters to 280. Yeah, I think it's 280. They doubled. So you can put a lot on there. Facebook is unlimited. Use that information. I put my book synopsis every time I post something about my book. Not every time, but a lot of times I put my synopsis in there. So someone comes along and they found me through hashtag mermaid. Oh, it's a mermaid book. Oh, this is the synopsis. And my buy it link, also the information I put there, buy it link is in my bio. So there you go. And it goes right to my Amazon page. Twitter.
Okay, so not everybody likes to use Twitter. I like Twitter because I think it's a writer's community hangs out on Twitter a bit. So I do use Twitter and I interact with them. Again, none of this stuff only once in a great while are you using your social media channels to sell your books. Most of the time you're using them to build your community. So your community around writers, am writing, writer's life, am reading, sci-fi Friday. There's a bunch of those hashtags and that communities hang out around on Twitter. So I built my Twitter profile pretty big, and then on the occasion that I do have something going on, like today I'm here, and I've discounted my ebooks to 99 cents while I'm at an event. That's what I always do, it's sort of my standard thing. I put that on Twitter. And so then, you know, it's once in a while you're going to that community with a cell or something like that. But most of the time you go in there to communicate. There are lots of pictures of my cats. There are lots of pictures of my kids. There's lots of pictures of my life. Here's the thing about social media that you'll find later on. When you have fans, and you will have fans, if you write books, you will have fans. Not maybe you won't have tons of them, maybe you will have tons of them, but you will. And social media is a way for that community to interact with you. I kind of look at it as a little bit safely and from a distance. Like they can sort of stalk you a little bit, but it's not unhealthy, right? So they have access to you in your life and the things you want them to see through these social media channels, and it creates a real community with your readers. So I do have people that comment on my Twitter that I know are people that have read my book. I have people that comment on my Facebook page, on my Instagram, that I know me as a writer, and they are having a tiny little bit of access into my life. And I love that when it's somebody cool that I fangirl over. I love that I can like maybe communicate a little bit or see a little bit of an insight into that person's world. So social media does that for you too. It's creating this way of interacting with fans or with people that your readers that's mostly safe. And then if it's not safe, if it gets unsafe, you block. And blocking is absolute. They can't get me to you again. So I would say I use Instagram, I use Twitter. She's much better at Instagram, and I'll let you talk about that. Facebook, I think sort of everybody, you can put a lot of information on Facebook. So I think it's sort of a necessary one. If I were to say which of these, Facebook's probably pretty necessary at this day and age. I don't use Pinterest, Heather does, she can talk about that, and Instagram.
So I will focus on Instagram and Pinterest. The only thing I'll say about Facebook is I draw the line on Facebook, my personal and my writer's life. So I have a different profile name for my personal account than I do, and I use my Facebook author page. That's how I communicate with the writer. Yeah, she's all over. I was being a teacher in a public school, and I needed to draw. I taught junior high for a long time. I needed to draw some pretty clear lines. So in Instagram, I use Instagram. I'm more visual, so like I said, Tabitha is not as visual as I am, so like that's her comfort zone. I'm not as comfortable on Twitter as she is. I mean, I'll go on there, but I just don't feel it. Like I connect more with people on Instagram. It's a personal thing. It doesn't matter. You're getting more and more people are getting on Instagram. Like before, it was like kind of a closed net community. It's getting bigger and bigger. Pinterest is fantastic. So if you go to my Pinterest page and you scroll through, I'm teaching, so there's like a lot of my teaching stuff, there's my personal stuff. Don't go away. But for Pinterest, what I do, just took a little nap. So for Pinterest, what I do is I have vision boards for all 3 books, and I post pictures. Like they're not necessarily my pictures. I always give credit because I'm an artist. I like make sure I give credit, and then I put a little link onto my book. Like, hey, you can see this book on Amazon. Like source information. Tabitha made this gorgeous picture. Waking the Marrow, now on Amazon, Mermaid Trilogy, and I post the picture in my vision board. Like, it's a great place. Pinterest is like, we could do a whole thing about Pinterest another time, but I also have like boards about, and they're titled like Indie Author Wears Writing Hat, Indie Author Wears Cover Hat. Like if I'm researching covers, I pin a whole bunch of pictures, and I always put my name on it. Sometimes not always, but I get better about like making sure I put my name. So when the pin comes up, you'll see like the Rigney, maybe the Rhode. It also comes up in the Google searches, which is fantastic. If you don't Google yourself, you should start doing that. Once you start writing and getting out there, like Google yourself. We'll get into another thing like where you can check, you can set up channels to be constantly checking the search engines to see as your name comes up. And a lot of my stuff comes up on Pinterest. So I know that I've flooded the market with my stuff on Pinterest. Next slide, please. So, mailing list, subscribers to be loyal followers. Well, Tabitha and I have sign-up sheets at our stations that we take with us to all events. We load those things. Both she and I use a manager called MailChimp, which is fantastic. It's MailChimp.com. It's a really wonderful tool that will help you set up your newsletter. Newsletters are really fantastic. I'll let Tabitha take it.
So I do one on Mondays, I call it Monday Musings, and I really, again, I'm not using my newsletter to promote my book very often, only when like I have a new release or something's on sale. Mostly I'm using it again to communicate with those people who have given me permission to communicate with them because they've given me their email. I have several hundred people on my email, it's not huge, but it's a nice little base to start with. And once a week I just talk to them, and I say, oh, my cat ran away, and some guy at Comic-Con came up and said, did you find your cat? And I was like, oh my God, who are you? But he was like, I read your book, I was so concerned, and I found my cat, and it was just, it's just a little, it's a way to be a person in a space that's very, very, difficult to communicate, because it's such a big world, but it's a way to be a person with somebody else. So I do it once a week. And then at the time that I do have something to offer, like I have a book release coming, then those people get to hear it first, and they get to see first what I've got going on. Sometimes I might even give them a little, reward them for their loyalty. I might give them a first chapter. I might give them the first peek of the book cover as a reward for being loyal followers. And they really are. I have a very low unsubscribe rate on my newsletter because those people have said they want to hear from you. So it's a really, they're your most loyal customers usually. A regular communication pattern for me is important. That's how I need to work. Otherwise, you might hear from me once this week, once, not for a month. So I just do my Monday musings once a week. That's just my pattern. I have a friend that does one called Friday Morning FYI, and they're hysterically funny little snippets. I look forward to them every Friday. Chuck Wendig is a science fiction writer who does a really great blog post out to his email list, like pretty much twice a week. So when you do it well, it's a powerful tool. You have to attend to it.
I am not as good as Tabitha with a regular. Are you okay?
Yes.
Just checking. You're smiling, so that's good.
I can't even see back there.
My newsletter is not. Studies have shown what Tabitha is doing is really powerful. I mean, I would follow her. Don't follow mine because I'm like, okay, got a book coming out. Hey people, book coming out. Boom, there's your newsletter. I don't like to bother people, but like I think consistency would be a better thing. So I'm not really one to talk about using it. I use it. All right, I am a bookmark beast. Let me tell you. Okay, so my bookmark. If you come to my table and look at my bookmark, it is like it's my little like weapon. I whip it out like here. So here's a bookmark. Here's a bookmark. My bookmark has like the best review on it by Nicole Hill from the Barnes & Noble book blog. When my book came out, she wrote this amazing, funny, poignant. Like she described my book better than I did. So I put that on the back of my bookmark, and because it's from Barnes & Noble, it carries a lot of weight. And I have a picture of the book on front. I've got my tagline, which is mermaids are not nice. And then as people buy it, boom. So like they take it. It stops people. Like it's the nod and smile thing. Nod and smile. Another quick thing, like at events like this, you should be standing. You should not be sitting down. Like that's just like a thing. You should stand. Like people, you'll see. Like people, if you look around, people sell more books. You don't sell it on your butt. You sell it on your feet. Bring a yoga mat. Stand on that yoga mat. Because these books are rough. So like you stand there and you greet, nod, smile people. I know we're writers. We're introverts. You want to sell a book, you gotta smile. That's the way it works. Next slide. Okay, to blog or not to blog, that is the question. It is noble to blog. I don't do it. So I'm going to do mine first. I don't blog because I got the mic. I made a conscious decision. I tried doing blogging and I just want to work on my writing. I don't want to be technical. I don't. And like some people don't. Like Gillian Flynn does not blog. You go to her website, it's like, boom, I got a book coming out. Mic drop. That's it. That's all that's there. You go to Tabitha, Tabitha's got like, she can give you pointers on Comic-Con, she can give you pointers on this, she's got 1,000 things going on, like she is good at blogging, she makes good connections, so boom.
So I do blog. I'm not as consistent as I should be, and others that are more consistent, there's real success in that. But I do repurpose my material a lot, so if I'm writing a blog post for, say, Writer Unboxed or Writer's Digest, I absolutely repost it online once they've given me permission to do that. I use them on different groups that I belong to, like the New England Speculative Fiction Writers Association. They have a blog space, I'll reblog there. And that's just more places that people can hear your name, see what you have to say. And you're also to me, a blog is offering something. You know, it's offering a perspective, it's offering a piece of your voice, it's offering advice about something, or it's just engaging with the community in a different way. So I find it useful, but that's just kind of how I roll. So, but the thing about it is, if you're gonna do it, you need to do it. You can't just kind of do it half-assed, you know. So I pretty much do it.
And I would say, like, now that my trilogy is done, I am definitely going to spend time blogging because I feel like I've earned it. Like now I have something to give. Like this is my first presentation about like what I've learned, and I liked it. I'm a natural teacher, so I like giving back. All right, so the next one. Ooh, your strategy with our sassy cat to create an effective long-range marketing plan. Understand traditional versus indie publishing. I'm gonna leave this to Tabitha.
So one of the things is, I don't know where all of you are in your publishing process, but there are many, many ways now to bring your book to the world. We were talking about Wattpad in one of the other panels, and that's just a platform that as a writer you can throw your stuff up there, you create a community of readers around you. It doesn't have to be polished. It can be pretty raw, and you get interactions from that community. And it's a great equalizer because it doesn't cost any money, and you don't have to put any money into it to get your stuff out there and start building an audience. Then there's the indie publishing or the self-publishing model is really you're taking on the responsibility of everything, including your marketing, including your sales, including your bookings for yourself, including pretty much everything. Traditional publishing, I think we all know what that looks like. If we're going the truly traditional model, you need to acquire an agent. And you have to pitch your material to an agent, so you have to write a query letter, you have to get that, you have to learn how to write a query letter, you should want to be sending them, you know, what you think is a query letter, really research that. They ask for material, you send them material, they want to sign with you, you do your research on them, they do their research on you, you decide it's a good partnership, they pitch your material to the big 5 publishing houses. You cannot access the big 5 without an agent. So if you want to go truly traditional, you must get an agent first. So then they are pitching your work to the big 5. That can take a lot of time. It can take a year, 2 years to get an agent. It can take another year, 2 years to get your stuff in the cycle of a big publishing house. However, what is the benefits? They will pay you in advance, sometimes. They will pay you royalties. They will do your cover art. They will provide you with an editor. They will do all of that at their cost. And then you get paid out on the product. So in the traditional publishing model, all the money funnels toward the writer, right? Independently, you're a business, and you have to think of yourself as a business, and you have to run it like a business. So if you pay out, you want to make sure you retain all of your rights. So we're indie in our big books. I have sold short fiction to publishing houses. The middle of the road one is small presses, and they're really nice to work with. I've sold some work to small presses. However, you still have to do a lot of all of this stuff. You have to do a lot of your marketing, a lot of your sales, a lot of your promotional yourself anyway. But small presses will often take you unagented, so you can pitch to them with an agent or without, some of them. And they will provide you with cover art, they will provide you with an editor, they will pay all that upfront cost, and you will get a slightly higher royalty than sometimes the big 5 pay, but they don't pay you in advance. So you don't get any money up front, you just don't have to pay any money. So those are sort of the 3 ways to get there. And what you have to understand about those 3 things, and I know this is why we're talking so fast, because time is running out, but indie publishers go directly to their audience. I sell my books directly to you, my readers. Traditionally published people sell their books through the middleman, through to the bookstore. We are never going to get our books other than you know, the guy at Barnes & Noble that likes me, that stocks a couple of my books, the independent bookstores. We are not going to get into the circulation chain of big distribution at the bookstores and Barnes & Noble all over the country. Not going to happen as an indie. So don't waste your time trying to do that. Make decisions accordingly. As indies, you're marketing directly to your audience. So you want to build relationships with your audience. That's the most important thing. You want to find your readers yourself and get them to come to you. Traditional publishing, different animal. It's your agent, it's the publishing house, it's their relationship with the bookstore, it's how many books it's what space they've bought for you on the front display, it's how many returns they get. It's a whole different kind of an industry that's there. If you go that route, that's fine. It's just, that's not the business side. You don't have to worry so much about this business side of things that we're talking about. So, focus your time, energy, and funds accordingly.
Finding your market. So like she was saying, the big chain bookstores is not your market if you're an indie author. That's not where you want to put your time and energy. You're just not going to go there. You're going to build a relationship one reader at a time. Sadly, that's the way it goes. But that's the path that you chose to do. It's great. I mean, I've had people come up to me today that have been along this journey with me since 2014. They came up. I remember I saw you at the book expo a couple years ago. And they come back year after year to find me and get the next book. That's fantastic. So that's how you're going to build it. You're going to do it through local bookstores, libraries, do library events, online and in person. That's the best way that you can make those connections with people. We're at the 10 minutes like until 4:30?
Yeah.
Okay, so at the beginning I said it to you guys because our program was supposed to be now because the raffle is at 4:30. At 4:30 we'll give you the heads up if you want to go, but we're happy to stay and finish because we know we have more stuff that, plus we started late because of the tournament. It's not our fault. So if you do need to leave, we'll give you that mark and then you can go and then we'll go give us the heads up. Okay, so.
Okay, pre-launch, building the buzz before you have your book. List the book on NetGalley. That is something that Tabitha will talk about. I'll just keep going because I've got the microphone. Can you take it with me? Right there. Set up pre-orders on major outlets and promote on your author platform. So like Amazon.com, you can, I think it's up to 60 days, you can put your book up. Yeah, you can put your book up and you can make like a little dummy to put up on Amazon and you can start doing pre-ordering. I think Barnes & Noble's just starting to do that. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I am an Amazon girl. I don't make any sales on Barnes & Noble. I don't make any sales on Kobo. Kobo's more of a Canadian market. There's like, it's like a thing. I mean, if you can figure it out, let me know. I don't know how to do it. But I am Amazon all the way. I mean, they are an evil magnet, but I am fine. That's what puts money in my pocket. I do all my pre-ordering on them. I am a KDP Select, which is a Kindle Direct Publishing. So I am an exclusive on Amazon for my first book only, which they give me. That means I can't sell it anywhere else. But they do give me free days. They give me 5 free days, and they also give me like price point things that I can adjust. It's worth it to me. My other books are on other channels, so you can only get my book on Amazon, but you can get the other ones on the other channels if that's what you want to do. Consider a cover reveal promotional. So you know, like when your next book is coming out, you know, cover reveal, and like we said, blast it through your newsletter first, and then make a big deal about it. There's also tons of information on the internet about doing a cover reveal with small companies that will like take you on a book tour and they will do cover. That's what they do. They give you like $99. They will splash your cover on a whole bunch of different places where people read and they will target the market. Consider list on Goodreads. Just a quick thing on Goodreads. Goodreads is not. It's like it is like Lost Boys playground. Like readers are just beasts on Goodreads. They just want to tromp all over you. So if you're a writer, it's not really a good place to go check out your book. You got to put it up there and get out as fast as you can because the reviews on there are brutal. Oh my god! Like
My best review is a 1-star review. It said, "This book is as boring as a bowl of tepid oatmeal." It's an award-winning book. I know not everybody's gonna like it, but boring as a bowl of tepid oatmeal. That'll kill me. Don't read the bad reviews. But Goodreads is a big platform, so you do have to be present there and not be open.
Yeah, when I first my first book came out, I bought ads on Goodreads. So that's something that you can do, and I ran ads. I did giveaways for my first book, and then when the second came out, I didn't do it for this one, for the third book, but I did giveaways on Goodreads, and that brought a Okay, so we are at 4:30, so if you want to leave for the raffle, you may go now. So Goodreads is good for them. Another thing, like we said before, give a chapter away and splash it all over on your channels.
NetGalley. So NetGalley is you have to register to be part of it, and you can put your book up there, and bloggers and readers that have registered with it also can grab it and read it. The thing that NetGalley is good for are early reviews or reviews before your book is even released. I did it with my first book. I see no reason to do it with the sequels because that's really not going to grab anyone. I may relist my first book when I release the third book, again on NetGalley, because that will draw people into the series. So you have to think strategically about that, because it does cost money to list it on NetGalley. And that's but people do grab it. And if you've got a very snappy cover and it looks really interesting, people will grab it, they will read it, and they will review it early before you've even published it. So that's an advantage, but again, think strategically. I'm not going to list my third book on NetGalley. That's the third in the sequel.
Okay, the book is out. Now what? The other says yes. Have a launch party. Both Tab and I do launch parties. I stand by my launch parties. And then you're gonna plan some signing events and a virtual book tour. So book launch party. Find a venue. My books take place in Pawtuxet Village, so my first two books were released in Pawtuxet Village. I had a connection at the Elephant Room, which is now it's got a different name. But I have my book launches there. You set a date, you need to do it in advance. Like, we'll talk about this later, but like everything, you need to know like 6 months ahead of time when you're launching your book. Start planning that party. Set the date, call your friends to attend and help. They'll come like my friends could, and like, so I could just be like, hi, my book. I didn't want to be like, running the cash register, doing the square thing, like organizing things, like how much you want. I had people that did that for me. I had like 100 people at my first one. I think like 80 people at the second one. My next one's going to be at Nordstrom next week. I'm going to find a venue. That was pretty awesome. A friend of mine works at Nordstrom. She gave my book to the manager. She fell in love with my book. She said, what can I do for you? I'm like, you can have a launch party for me. So my launch party's at Nordstrom. Promote it. Go there at Providence Journal. You can see they have a book thing that you can call. I don't have the information in my head right now. You email me, I can send it to you. I have a list of people that you can contact in the Rhode Island area to send out blasts to, like, what are they, like, magazines? Yeah, the local papers, Go Local, those types of things. And then set a timeline for your evening events. It's like a wedding. Set it up like a wedding. Like, okay, at 8:05, I'm gonna do a reading. At 8:10, like, I'm gonna talk to people. Like, you set it up like that so that like people can come over, like I'm signing things. Swag. I always do t-shirts for every book that I go. I'm a graphic designer, so I do a lot of the graphics myself. I make t-shirts that go along. I have raffles at my thing. I'm not probably going to do it this third one because Nordstrom's trying to get them on doing raffles, but at the other two I had raffles, so if you bought a book, you get a raffle ticket. I went around to local businesses. I had like a bucket of booze that you could get. You get a book and a bucket of booze. Like, so they're like the swag, like it made people excited. They were there. My second book, I love donuts, so I got a whole bunch of Ellie's donuts. Like everybody got a donut with your book. Like, make it a party, and this is a big deal. This is your opportunity. This is like your Cinderella moment. You wrote a book, damn it. Like, you should party like it's 1999 all over again. Food, drinks, entertainment, make it fun. Tabitha at hers, her husband and her father-in-law played music. It was like so nice that they were there, and it made it like really special. And she had these gorgeous cupcakes that came in. She had a great venue in Kingston Hive, so it was good. Like, it should.
Did it cost me a lot of money? I think I sold probably 100 books, and that's 100 books. So that's $100 times 15, 100 books times $15. That's a good start to your launch.
Yeah, like those 100 people that came, they were there because they wanted to buy a book. So I sold 100 books. Like, that's, when do you do that? Like, you don't do that at any time as an indie person, except at your book launches. Like, boom, get those books out there. So the signing events. Whoops. Yes, be prepared to be lonely. All right, so this is like, there's been many events that I've gone to, like at the Exeter Public Library, I went, there were 3 people there. Like, I was like, oh, okay. And my parents weren't there. No, but I will tell you, that event was in 2014. Today, Nate, the librarian that was there for the first half of it, like he came today and was like, my mom read your books from the library. She wants to buy a third one. Actually, she read all of them from the library and she wants to thank you. She's buying all 3 books. Yes! Like, so like, you never know. Like those things, like those 4 people, like that's another sale. So like, yeah, you get there and like your heart is like in your throat because you're like, oh, there's nobody here at Crickets. Like, it's okay. It's all right. You never know when those connections are going to come through. One reader at a time. And try things until you find your niche.
I would just say that I learned early on that my people don't really hang out at events like this. I mean, a few, but this is, I come here because I love doing this and I love being part of this group and this is our signature event. But Comic-Cons, I sell a lot of books at Comic-Cons and I sell a lot of books at a place where I'm the only person and there's a big crowd. Because I'm friendly, I stand up, I smile, I say hello. So the Big E, I go to the Big E, I sell 80, 90 books in a day. It's fantastic, but I'm the only person there and it's, you know, there's traffic coming by. So the first year I think I did every single event in the history of doing events, like everything Aria did, I found on my own, and I learned really quickly which ones were a waste of a Saturday they can never get back. But again, you know, you never know who it is that's that one person that you meet and interact with. So you have to try things until you feel like your time is being well spent. Okay, we are getting near the end. Virtual book tours, pros and cons. This is definitely a Tabitha thing. I did one once, and it went pretty well, but she can speak about it better. So the virtual book tour is basically, you know, it's a book tour online, and it's through bloggers that then shoot your book out, either a promo for your book or an excerpt or an interview or something. They're shooting it out and they're promoting it to their entire mailing list. So obviously the key is to do your research and make sure that that tour company that you're using has enough connection with bloggers that read in your genre, right? So the first time I did it, it ended up being like, it was mostly a romance thing. And like I have a tiny bit of romance in my book, but it's really not, it's sci-fi. So that wasn't really my audience. So I switched it up and I did better research the second time and I put both books through the blog tour the second time around. You got to interact with your readers, so the day that your post or your whatever appears, people are making comments on that blog, you want to get right in there and comment back, because those are people that you get to sign up for your website, they're people that you can get to talk to you later, and you know, say, hey, wow, I did read your book, it was really great, they want to hear your voice, so if you have, it's an opportunity. I did a combination with a giveaway, that got a lot more people to sign up, and also they were invited to go to my mailing list to sign up with the giveaway, and so that was a nice, you know, feeder into my mailing list. So you try to like combine things, big bang for your buck. Books, signed books, yeah. So at the end, I think I gave 5 sets of both books signed to 5 different winners. Repurpose your homework. There's a lot of homework with these tours. They want an interview, they want you to do a guest blog post, they want you to answer these 5 questions about whatever. So I use all that stuff and then I repurpose them for blogs later on. And that's a really good, that's one of the reasons when I'm in that mode and I know I'm going to be writing all these answers and I'm going to be, you know, like interacting, I use that material again and I set it up and I kind of pop it out during the course of the year when I'm in a different phase, like when I'm in a creative writing phase and I don't have time to blog, I've got that stuff on the back burner. And the last thing is, do a review tour. I didn't do that really the first time, and only probably if it went to like 50 spots, maybe only 5 people reviewed it, and it was just promotional. The second time I was like, I want reviews. So you're not paying for reviews because you're paying the blog tour host to set up the, you know, you're giving your book to these bloggers, but if they say they're going to put a review up, that just builds the buzz, you know, and it builds the buzz. It's generally pretty inexpensive, so I'm not going to do it for my 3rd book, but I'll probably put my 1st book back on tour when the 3rd book releases. Again, you got to think strategically. Is somebody going to read the 3rd book in the series on blog tour? Probably not. So, you know, be strategic, use your money well. Okay, you are in control of all things, so that's important. Like if you choose to be an indie person, you are wearing all the hats, so you are in charge of everything. You're the CEO of your company. You need to price your books competitively. Look around. What are people selling their books for? Find out. Do you need to do your market analysis? I sell mine for $15. When I first started, I was selling them for $10. So like, that's so cheap. Oh my God, why are you so low? Because I want people reading them. That's why. And I was like giving them away because you want to build that. I knew it was a trilogy. So yeah, I mean like the perma-free thing. Some people put their first book in a trilogy or a series. They put it for free. Use discounts on Amazon. We talked about that. Like definitely like making sometimes things perma-free. I think
creatively about your timing. That's super important. Some tips that I can give you, Black Friday. Run promotions on Black Friday. That's like, it's a given. People are at home, they're relaxed, they're spending money. Cyber Monday is another day. Like I did that, I ran a promotion, I ran my book for free. I've got 5,000 downloads between Friday and Monday. I do another one on Boxing Day. That's December 26th. That's another day people in their jammies spending money. So that's what you want. You want to run your promotions on that day too. Definitely, like, cause like people, I got a ton of downloads. I think I got like 2,000 downloads last year on Boxing Day. So if you have a series, you want to run that first book free so that people buy the second. Hopefully they buy, if you get 2,000 people downloading that first book, hopefully at least 200 of them will buy the second and the third book. So it's just a matter of numbers. And keep writing. That's like super important. Just keep on writing. Practice, 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 practice. Yes, final thoughts. Everything takes longer. You need to be constantly thinking. Tabitha and I were on our way back from Big Apple Con in February, discussing like this, talking about this. We're like, oh my god. And so like last February, like I need to release my third book by then. So like you gotta plan it backwards. Like you pick your goal, when you want it to go, and then you work backwards from it. Bless you. Know when you're not the right person for the job. Like for example, like being a graphic designer, I did not want to do the cover of my book. I hired 2 people and I fired 2 people because I didn't like what they did. But you need to know, like I'm not an editor, I am a writer. Most of you
No one is an editor.
No, none of you are.
Even if you are an editor, if you're writing your own book, you're not an editor.
Yeah, you're not. You're absolutely not. You're not a proofreader either. Definitely not. Because you've been looking at that like way too long. You don't see that double word in there. You don't see the there that you put with there. That should have been there. Like it's not there. So you're not. That's not for you. So hire somebody. Hire somebody to do it. Make your book look pretty, people. Get a formatter. You need a formatter before it goes to. Do not run it through Word and then stick it up on Amazon. That looks like poop. No one wants to buy that. People will call you out on it. It's scream amateur. Get a formatter. There's lots of them out there. So, you gotta spend money to make money. Like you do. Like that's the bottom line. It's not a free thing. Like you can't just be like, oh well, yeah. Only Wattpad is free. Everything else you gotta spend it. You gotta put it through. I mean, I'm still in the hole. I don't know about Tabitha, but I'm still in the hole trying to climb my way out. But like, I'm one reader at a time.
Anybody have questions? Wow, you guys, no questions. Yes. We have been. We were just